The first time I stood next to the Ohio River in Ripley, I had no idea where the adventure would lead. But now that I do, it's about time we go back and start where we left off, on the Great Ohio Adventure Trail. Welcome to Journey Beyond Overland, the place where adventures begin. My name is Krys, and today, along with my husband Bill and our dogs Rue and Rourke, we're going to show you that there's a lot more to the state of Ohio than fields and farmland. Welcome back to the Great Ohio Adventure Trail.
Good morning, I am Krys, and this is Bill with Journey Beyond Overland, and we are back here in Ohio today to go back out on the Great Ohio Adventure Trail.
I'm hoping to find some water crossings.
I'm pretty sure we are going to find some water crossings today. There was such an overwhelming response to our first video on the Great Ohio Adventure Trail that we thought, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for us to explore more of our home state. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're coming along. This is Serpent Mound in Ohio. This is not actually on the Great Ohio Adventure Trail, but it's really not that far off. Both Bill and I have been here when we were kids. It's just got a unique history and unique story, and this is a piece and a part of Ohio that a lot of people don't know exist.
So what else might you not know about Ohio? Ohio was the birthplace of 7 presidents, the Wright brothers, and Neil Armstrong. The city of Cincinnati boasted the first professional baseball team, the first ambulance service, and the first professional fire department in the United States.
We've stopped at one of these small towns in Ohio to stop and get gas, and I wanted to point something out really important here. Let's see if I can get this. This is probably all you're going to find other than the occasional diesel here, and that's it. If you have a vehicle that needs high-octane gas, you may not find it here, so just be aware of that.
Akron was the first U.S. city to use police cars. Cleveland, it was the first U.S. city to be lit by electricity and put up the first American traffic light. Well, and there is that thing about the river catching fire there more than 13 times, but that's another story. Ohio inventors created chewing gum, the first automobile, and the first automobile self-starter. The first full-time automobile service station in the U.S. opened there in 1899, and the first hot dog, it was served in Ohio in 1900. In 1959, a 10-year-old boy decided that the state needed to adopt his mother's favorite saying as the motto for the state of Ohio. He gathered signatures and spoke to lawmakers, and soon thereafter, Ohio adopted the motto, "With God, all things are possible."
The last time I was out here driving the goat, I finished up at Quiverhart Gorge, which isn't exactly on the goat. So when we came back down today, Bill said, I want to start exactly where you left off last time, and I wasn't 100% sure where I deviated from the route. So I chose where I thought was about right, but overshot it a little. So I'm back on Robinson Hollow, and there is a really nice little water crossing here. It was a little more tricky today because the ice is thick, and there's a lot more of a drop-off straight off that ice into the creek and out, but it was a fun little crossing, and now we're headed onward.
The name Ohio comes from the Seneca word Ohio, which generally translated as Great River, Good River, or Beautiful River. When Ohio became a state in 1803, it was named after that river. When Ohio first became a state, it was probably 95% covered in forest, including massive old-growth trees, wetlands, and the Great Black Swamp in the northwest. Today, that landscape has been transformed into a patchwork network of agricultural fields, urban centers, and fragmented forests, with less than 0.5% of the original forest remaining. So if you find yourself in Ohio and you're seeking some of the solitude and peace you can find in the forested wilderness, the Great Ohio Adventure Trail is a great place to start seeking out that remaining 0.5%.
We are now driving through the Davis Memorial Nature Preserve, which means no drones. And I wanted to mention this. Ohio is not a drone-friendly state. In Ohio, you have very limited places that you can fly your drone. Yes, there are public places, public roadways, things like that, that if you know what the rules are, you can make sure, obviously, to follow those and fly your drone. But state parks, off limits without a permit. And if you want a permit, you are talking about applying at least a month in advance paying a fee and not knowing whether you're even going to get a permit to fly. So you have to know the date or dates you're going to be wanting to fly. You're going to have to know the area you want to fly, and you have to apply for a separate permit for every single state park you want to fly in. State parks are a no. There are some places in the state parks in Ohio that have designated drone flying areas, but they're very few. They're very few and far apart. You also have Wayne National Forest, which has the regular national forest rules, which generally means you can fly. And you also have state forests. Now, the state forests are kind of hit or miss. So that's the big question is, are you going to be able to get drone shots or not? If you're looking for drone shots, Ohio may not be where you want to go.
The first segment of the Great Ohio Adventure Trail runs 121 miles from the shores of the Ohio River at Ripley to the wilderness of Shawnee State Forest. In Ripley, you can stop at more than a dozen locations to learn more about the history of the area as part of the Underground Railroad that helped slaves find freedom north of the Ohio River. The route then passes through forests, along the remnants of old dry stack walls, past creeks filled with small waterfalls, and atop the 300-foot cliffs that overlook the Ohio River below. It then travels through a mix of agricultural land and forests, traversing several significant water crossings along Beech Fork and the Scioto River before ending in the woodlands of Shawnee State Forest.
We're now starting part of the GOAT that is called the Beech Fork Trail on X. It's a green level trail. I haven't read the description. I don't know exactly what to expect. I do know that there are supposed to be several water crossings in this area, and I'm looking forward to finding them.
Although the water levels on both of the crossings on Beech Fork were easily navigable today, that ice made it just a touch more difficult for some vehicles. This young man just happened to be driving through when we stopped to set up cameras at this crossing. And you could tell he was just out for a little bit of fun today because he went back and forth a couple of times while we were there. He also stopped to say hello and invite us to go on a different trail with him, but as we had our sights set on the GOAT, we declined. I'm pretty sure this young man, wherever he went, had a wonderful adventure the rest of his day. And once he drove on, it was now my turn on this icy crossing. The depth of the water crossing here wasn't the issue. It was perfectly shallow. In fact, you could pretty much drive anything with just a little clearance through here. The only questionable part was the ice. How slick was it going to be? Because on both sides, Bill and I could barely walk on that ice, let alone know if we could drive. But in this case, it really didn't give us any problems.
crossing that is marked Scioto Brush Creek crossing. If you're taking the goat from south to north, which is the way it is typically laid out, this is still part of segment 1, there is a turn right there. You feel like you're driving into somebody's business, but there actually is a stop sign right there at the edge of the road that you can see. You follow that, you drive through what looks like a creek for a very, very short time, and then it goes past that business and out a dirt and gravel road, and that's where you find the deeper crossing over the Scioto Brush Creek. So that was a pretty cool crossing. Definitely a lot more current there, a little bit deeper, but a lot of fun.
After you leave behind the water crossing on the south fork of the Scioto Brush Creek, you'll find yourself going through some agricultural area and then into some large sections of woodland. Ohio has around 8 million acres of forests, but 85% or more of Ohio's forests are privately owned. This next section of the Great Ohio Adventure Trail passes through one of those large tracts of privately owned woodlands. And after leaving that section behind, you'll find yourself entering the largest state forest in Ohio, 63,000 acres of Shawnee State Forest. But this forest did not start out large and grandiose. The land was originally part of the hunting grounds for the native Shawnee. Stone quarrying and timbering in the mid-1800s until the early 1900s left it open to rampant fires. And when the state of Ohio purchased 5,000 acres here in 1922 and named it the Theodore Roosevelt Game Preserve, you likely would never have guessed that it would ever house a flourishing woodland again.
You know how often roads will get washboarding, corrugation, depending on what part of the world you're from? Well, here, the ice has actually gotten the washboard. This is the first time either Bill or I have ever driven anywhere that the road is not washboarded, the ice is. It's just a little rough today. So we're on the last big section of trail between us and Shawnee State Park Campground. I don't remember looking at the name of this road yet, but I'm sure I'll tell you what it is later. I'll put it down in the bottom. It is covered in snow. The incline on the way up was sketchy, to say the least. Sliding all over, though I suggested to Bill, maybe we should turn around and then just go straight to camp. And he said, but this is the funnest part of the trail we've had all day. I was like, okay, I'll keep pushing, I'll keep going. Perhaps a better set of tires would be good, because the tires I have on are pretty much towards the end of their life. They seem to be doing okay, but I'm definitely sliding all over. The other part of the trail in Shawnee State Forest there was a lot more dirt. You had sections of snow, but it's all snow. And I don't want to get too much momentum, so I need to slow down just a touch there. Sliding left, right, everywhere. There are some drop-offs off to the side, so the last thing I want to do is slide over the edge, hit trees, roll down an embankment. But it is beautiful. So I'll give Bill that. This is beautiful. And I haven't gone off the road yet, but that right there was a little squirrely.
In the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps had 6 camps here, which built roads, trails, and several small lakes in the forest. This area was not added to the state forest system until 1951. Today, Shawnee State Forest remains a working forest where the state manages timber operations, tree planting, the production of tree seeds, forestry research, and watershed protection, while encouraging recreational use of the land for things like fishing, hunting, mushroom and berry gathering, camping, hiking, horseback riding, mountain bike riding, boating, and birding.
This is State Forest Road number 2 through Shawnee State Forest. This is a really cool track through the woods up along the ridgeline in Shawnee State Forest. This time of year you can glimpse out and see that you are totally driving this ridgeline. You've got drop-offs on both sides of you. But I'm betting the majority of the year you wouldn't notice it very much because there'd be so much green and so many leaves. But right now, just vast, deep ravines on either sides of you. It reminds Bill and I a lot of a place in Kentucky called the Little Shepherd Trail. It's complicated today simply because normally this is a green road. This is an easy Forest Service road. You could drive this probably with just about anything you wanted to drive it with. But today, as my eyes just got big, there's snow on it and it makes it a lot more difficult to drive. It's been a challenge. We've been squirming all over. There have been some pretty steep inclines. I haven't had problems getting up those inclines, but you're definitely squirming all over. So it's been fun. We were talking about to keep it in 4 because right here there's a whole bunch of paved.
Yeah, I would leave it in 4-wheel drive, even though you've got some pavement strips there because it kind of is hit and miss. And the way I look at it is you leave it in 4-wheel drive on slick rock, so how is this any different?
So do you keep it in 4 high on the slick and the ice and the snow? Drop a line in the comments, let us know. If you drive up State Forest Route 2, eventually you're going to find yourself at the Shawnee State Forest Overlook, which is where we are right now. It's been an interesting ride getting up here. Bill, what do you think about this road?
Super awesome. It's just a green dirt road, but it's like, I'd say solid blue with the snow.
Yeah,
And this girl can drive. Drifting around the corners.
Probably didn't get any of that on camera, so you don't have to believe him if you don't want to.
I tried. We'll see if I got it or not when editing comes.
But it's been very cold in Ohio. Here's your weather report. It's been very cold in Ohio. We've had a lot more snow than we normally do. There's snow everywhere. There's still snow up on this road. This is the worst road we've driven today for snow.
The best.
Well, it's the most fun, but it's got the most snow still left on it. But it's in the 50s, which means everything is starting to melt and it's so slick right now.
Yeah.
And this last little piece of road we've driven so far, nobody else has driven this since I don't know when.
Yeah, and the Gladiator's darn near bald on tread. So Milestar Patagonia, look us up. We need a sponsor.
Or somebody who wants to send us some good tires would be overjoyed.
Size 37.
Oh my goodness gracious. Anyway, so we're at this overlook. I'm going to give you a glimpse of this overlook, and then we're going to keep pushing on because it's after 4 o'clock and we need to head towards camp. We expect to be able to reach Shawnee State Park Campground tonight. In Ohio, you're probably going to be stuck with State Forest, State Park, those kind of campgrounds, or a hip camp otherwise. There is some dispersed camping in Wayne National Forest, but it's very limited, and we haven't reached Wayne National Forest yet. So in the meantime, we got to settle for State Park campgrounds. That scenic viewpoint, it's not actually on the goat. It is marked on the map for the goat. It is definitely worth driving up there. It's not a very far drive at all off the route, and that viewpoint is definitely worth checking out. It was a little more squirrely for us today because of the snow. When you come down from there, there's also a picnic point. We did not go out to the picnic point today. The road from there is paved. And you might think we would be excited about that because, well, it won't be nearly so bad once the road is paved, but it was actually worse. For whatever reason, the snow on pavement, you just lose all that possible traction underneath with dirt or gravel or anything like that. And so that last section coming down off the mountain, we took it really slow. But we are now coming down to the main road and headed up towards Shawnee Campground for the night.
The Turkey Creek Campground at Shawnee State Park has 86 electric sites and 21 non-electric sites, some that are really only suitable for tents. So be careful when you reserve.
Do Doofus, what are you doing?
Just trying to find the way down. Just look at Mom and I'll get you down, you genius.
Brilliant. Good morning. We woke up this morning at the campground at Shawnee State Park here in Ohio.
Nice balmy morning. The sun is not shining.
Was it yesterday?
Off and on.
Can you give me the weather report for today?
Absolutely not.
Okay. This park it has some seasonal closures at the campground. There's only one shower house with bathrooms that is open at this time of year. The laundry is still open. There's enough snow on the ground that you can't get to the majority of campsites because they weren't plowed. There are a couple of them that have been plowed open, which was very helpful. This camp feels more like it's geared towards tenting because although the pad for 2 vehicles, because you can only have up to 2 vehicles at each site, it was just large enough for us to open our tent and our awning. Really, these are geared more towards tent camping. This is not as much geared towards overlanding where you can get down further towards the creek. But this is still a nice, pleasant place. There was nobody here when we got here. There's no staff in the winter, although we've seen a ranger drive through several times. So there's a sign at the front entrance at the visitor center, or at the area where you would usually check in, that says it's closed and that you either need to have an advance reservation, which you can do online, or you need to call a phone number. Well, here's the problem. We have Verizon. There is no signal here. So you can't call a phone number, and there's no phone down there for you to call, and there's no cell signal, so you can't go online and reserve. So this was actually our first adventure that we had a Starlink with us, and there was just enough room here by the bathroom to set it up in the parking lot where there was enough open sky that we just found one spot that would get Starlink so we could issue our reservation, or we could get our reservation. No wonder there was condensation on the underside of that awning yesterday.
It's like an inversion out west.
It is like an inversion out west. We also decided after we set up camp that we didn't really want to cook, that we were going to go up to the lodge, because if you don't want to go camping, there is the Shawnee Park State Lodge, which is just up the road about 1.5 miles, 2 miles. It's a nice little lodge. They do have a restaurant and a bar, and there's a nice lake. There's a view off the back deck. In the winter, they've got a nice fire going in a couple of areas so that you can just sit back and relax. So if you prefer not to camp out, the Shawnee State Park Lodge is just up the road from here. So that is another option if you want to do that. We had dinner up there. We totally forgot it was Valentine's Day. I mean, we didn't forget it was Valentine's Day, but it didn't register in our brains that because it was Valentine's Day that the restaurant might have something weird going on. They had only a Valentine's special or pizza, and they had so many reservations you had to sit in the bar to eat. So the food was pretty good, and I would recommend eating there if you're just passing through and you want to have something to eat other than cooking over a camp stove. Today we are headed on to segment 2. We made it all the way through segment 1 yesterday, headed on to segment 2 of the Great Ohio Adventure Trail, starting right here at Shawnee State Park and headed back out into the wilderness. About 4 in the morning, it wasn't really raining, and then it started raining, and it has been raining constantly since. It's not a huge problem. It's not a lot of rain, but it's constant dripping, which means if we find more roads today, like yesterday, with all that snow on them, we may not be able to drive them because they will be a pure sheet of ice today. So we don't know what we're getting into, what we're going to find out, what we're going to see, but regardless of what we're going to find out and what we're going to see, it's going to be an adventure.
I try to stay on the ditch, but if you have to wreck, do wreck on the left side. And we still haven't even aired down, and we're doing great, so keep in mind we can do that if it gets wicked. I guess it's easier for me to drive with one hand because you're breaking a trail for me.
Well, I'm driving with one hand too, but I've got a camera in my hand, so I'm not pressing a button on a radio at the moment. So I'll put the camera down so I can do that. We are now on State Forest Road 6. This is another road up through some beautiful trees. There is definitely well, it's not as bad as yesterday. The snow and ice, it rained overnight, so that rain has been beating down the snow and ice, but it's still very, very slick. So we're actually driving a little slower than we were yesterday. We were pushing for momentum on those hills yesterday. Today, not so much because it's so slick. So This is fun so far. This would be a very scenic, easy road on a good day. Today, I'd probably better pay attention to the road.
Takes what's a green route where you're just chilled out watching scenery to actual challenge. I'm loving this. It's really fun to watch my wife take it on because just a few years back you'd have been scared to death, and today you're tearing it up.
Aw, how sweet of you. You know, it really does kind of feel like there are some cutoffs here and there that they have blocked off that maybe used to be dispersed camping in here. It's so sad to see that maybe once you were allowed to do that, and now they've basically limited you to state park campgrounds.
Yeah, it's a worldwide problem. Graham's complain about the same thing in Australia. They just push you all in one spot, and you got all this ground out here to actually enjoy yourself. Nope, can't do that. That's what's bad for it. I mean, what's the problem?
I would assume a lot of it's because people don't use it responsibly and it gets messed up, so they'd rather have all the trash in one place so it's easier for them to clean up.
Yeah, but the weakest link can't develop what our future is. I just can't stand that approach.
I know, I don't love it either.
One of the best-known stops on State Forest Route 6 is the first fire tower built in Ohio back in 1924. It's 60 feet tall and cost $1,100 to build at that time. Although it was closed in 1978, it was later restored. And today, if you're brave enough, you can climb all the way to the top.
Where are you going?
When was it built again?
I don't remember, 1920?
Why'd I ask that question? For gosh sake. Should never
Excuse
ask
me?
that question.
Are you lost?
I'm trying to overcome one of my fears right now. What the bounce was that? I shall not do that. This is a terrible idea.
Why are you coming when you can't see anything anyway?
I've been preaching to my wife about becoming or overcoming inhibitions or fears, and here I am. I can't even go up a fire tower with her.
All right, we'll see how long we go here.
Yeah. Don't fall through the hole.
This is miraculous right here.
Yeah, this don't happen every day. In fact, I don't know if I've done. I did it once before with my brother, probably 20 some years ago.
I'm pretty sure you haven't climbed one with me ever.
Nope.
Are you okay?
Welcome to the new husband.
We are currently at the Copperhead Fire Tower. This is in Shawnee State Forest. There is a parking lot just down from the area. Please don't be that person who is driving around the gate that's clearly across the road to get up to this fire tower and making your own trail, because somebody has clearly done that. Please don't do that. We don't want this place closed. You can climb to the top of this fire tower. Even if you're afraid of heights,
Like me.
you might be able to make this one. I think this is the first one Bill's ever climbed with me, so this is very exciting. The road up here was very easy on a good day. It would be a green route. Pretty much you could get up here even in your sedan. Not today. Today there's a lot of ice, there's a lot of snow. Kind of comes and goes though. What did you think of the road up?
It was awesome.
Okay.
You get a little break once in a while because the snow would get thin or not at all.
Yeah,
Challenge. We want challenges.
it is. If you come out here, check this out. Yeah, we can't see anything today.
Pretty foggy.
So if you're wondering what the point of climbing a fire tower is, even on one of these gray, ugly, cloudy days where I'm not even flying my drone on this one because it's too wet, I'd say it's because you never know what you're going to be able to see or not see. And it's also about overcoming that worry or fear of heights. And this is actually a great day to do it.
For me, it's just to impress my wife. Did it work?
Yes.
Right on, everybody.
Yes,
That don't
it
happen every day.
All right, are you ready to try and climb down now?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you sure?
Got to be done.
Do I need to blindfold you? All right, onward. Bill?
When you get down to the bottom, call the rescue team so they can help me get down out of here.
Absolutely not. You're doing this one all on your own with a little help from your wife.
Super, super. This is not bugging me near as much as it normally does.
Really?
Yeah, it makes me want to be careful, but I don't have that like an acute feeling in my weakness in my knees.
That's a good thing.
I've been healing a lot of things apparently. That don't mean I'm going to do this with you every time, so don't get any ideas. You've said that to me before, so there it is back to you. I'm having a good time.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. This area is also well known for horse trails, so don't be surprised if there are horses out on the roads, trails, things like that. Just stay alert and make sure that you remember that the horses have the right of way. Parking area. Horse parking. All the way around, all the way around. You walk up back that way and that's where the fire tower is.
That fire tower is a prime example of God calls you to do something, he'll give you the ability to do it. I've never been able to go up fire towers. I would always lock up halfway up. Awesome experience.
I'm glad you climbed it with me.
I'm surprised they don't consider any of these routes seasonal. I guess if you're dumb enough to try it, go for it concept.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. This is the first route we've been on that nobody else looks like they've been on it since the big snow, and it's slick, but it's drivable for the moment. Now that we've got tire tracks in front of us, it feels like when it was a clean slate, it was actually easier to drive in, and now with the tire tracks, it's harder to drive in.
For sure, I'm right behind you, and you have a lot wider stance than the vehicle that made these tracks, and so you've got two in the deep snow and two in the rut. And I got the same problem back here. We purposely offset our tires out to keep the bodies off the banks or the trees when we're off-roading, and now we're paying for it. We're a little above average on our width.
Yeah, we're a little bit wide in these tracks.
Although the description of segment 2 of the GOAT tells me that this crossing at Euton Road is a small creek crossing, today it really wasn't.
We're now about to go over a very swift, a little bit deep water crossing. This is probably the first one I've ever done like that, making sure I'm in 4 low. Sway bar disconnected. Bill's actually going to stay on this side so we can get the cameras. You see how deep this gets? How bad this gets. It's a little deep. Not too bad though. It really wasn't as deep as I thought it was going to be. Bill and I both noticed that we were getting pretty low on gas. We had plenty to get us into Lucasville. This is called the Briar Patch. This is a great place to stop, get gas, get deli, get groceries, whatever it is you might need here. But when I opened my gas cap, I saw something that I haven't seen before.
Segment 2 of the Great Ohio Adventure Trail takes you from Shawnee State Park all the way to Lake Vesuvius, about 97 miles. from mile 30 to about mile 70, you're going to primarily encounter rural, twisty pavement, including plenty of stops for food, gas, and supplies in places like Lucasville, Minford, or South Webster. But as you're driving through this area, make sure to keep your eyes open for the traditional sights of southern Ohio. South central and southeastern Ohio are known as the foothills of the Appalachians. But don't let the appellation of Appalachian fool you. The highest point in the state is a 1,549-foot-high glacial moraine. And although the Appalachian foothills are characterized by steep rolling hills, rugged ridges, deep valleys, and dense forests filled with memories, these are all part of the Appalachian Plateau, and not true mountains at all. Instead, the landscape here rolls out like waves frozen in time. Subtle ridges rising and falling, carved by rivers and streams that meander through deep ravines dotted with waterfalls and lined with towering trees. Exploring a place like this is not about grand vistas or towering mountains. Instead, the land here invites you to slow down, breathe in the scent of damp earth and pine, and get lost in the gentle rise and fall of the land as it rolls out before you. Around mile 70 of segment 2 of the Goat, you'll finally enter the Ironton district of the Wayne National Forest. Wayne National Forest is Ohio's only national forest, and the Ohio segments of Wayne National Forest weren't designated until 1992.
So you got this beautiful little waterfall right behind us. You got people dumping trash right in front of us. Be better, people. We can be better. Welcome to a little slice of Wayne National Forest. There's actually the availability of dispersed camping in Wayne National Forest. It doesn't mean you're actually going to find anything in this area, but keep your eye out. Maybe you'll get lucky. The road here is snowy, icy. It's clear this one has seen more traffic than the ones we were driving earlier today in Shawnee State Forest. But it's still pretty slick, pretty icy. We're up to 41 degrees. Everything is melting.
It's going to be the stuff we have to really be careful on.
Just like I said, everything is melting. So we got a lot of ice. You just have to be careful. The roads out here today are a mishmash of pure snow and ice and dirt. All you have to do is turn around the corner and be on the wrong side of the hill, so where the sun isn't reaching, and suddenly there's ice and snow. But usually when you come around the next corner, you're going to find some dirt and some clear road again. See if I'm right this time also. Yep, there it goes, clears up. Not perfectly clear, but definitely a lot more clear than it was.
Wayne National Forest was named after Revolutionary War General and Congressman Anthony Wayne. Wayne initially worked as a surveyor, but quickly volunteered for military service when the American colonies erupted into a revolution against the British. During one battle, he ordered a frenzied bayonet charge by his 900 men in an attempt to break out of an encircling British army of over 7,000 soldiers. His successful charge earned him the name Mad Anthony. next section of forest you'll drive through is known as the Dean State Forest, and it's notable because it was one of the first purchases made by the state of Ohio for the state forest system back in 1916. But don't blink, because you might miss it before you notice you've gone back into Wayne National Forest again.
So we're currently driving through Wayne National Forest, and Wayne National Forest does have some dispersed camping, and I'm going to show you that there is a route here that we're driving that it looks like there should be availability of dispersed camping and that it's legal there. But I want to show you something because you can't always trust your map app. Here's what I'm going to show you when I get out, is that although it says that there is a spur that goes off this way, here's what that spur looks like in Wayne National Forest. So at some point, somebody in the National Forest, I would assume, decided that they no longer wanted to maintain this road for whatever reason. This spur is no longer available for dispersed camping. It's kind of sad to see that even the limited options we have in Ohio for dispersed camping, you may get there and find out, guess what? They've blocked it off. You can't even drive down there to see if there is available camping. I was disappointed earlier about that car seat by the waterfall. This is just up from where that spur was, and this might be part of the reason these areas are getting closed. This is exactly what folks will do, is they'll come up and they'll dump everything. Yeah, I'm betting they didn't drive very far to dump stuff that's this big, but still, that's why these places are getting closed.
The last 5 miles of road on segment 2 of the Great Ohio Adventure Trail takes you down the hillsides of Wayne National Forest, across a road that, for us, was the most washed out section of the Goat so far. Now that really isn't saying much, so don't expect massive obstacles, but if I'd been driving anything other than a Jeep, I might have had the sensation of a lifting tire here or there along that part of the road. Segment 2 then ends at the Lake Vesuvius Recreation Area. Lake Vesuvius is a 143-acre reservoir used for fishing and boating. It's also home to the Vesuvius Iron Furnace, one of 69 charcoal furnaces that operated in the area during the late 19th century. Our timing for this visit was pretty lousy because that beautiful lake had been drained to repair the dam.
So we got to the Lake Vesuvius area. There are 2 campgrounds here. We drove up to the one that should be by the lake. It is seasonally closed, so we're hopeful that the other one is open. If not, we'll have to reconvene, figure out what we want to do for the night. But in case you're curious, you may want to check out some of these state parks in advance. Be smarter than we were. Make sure that they're open. The one last night that we stayed at was Shawnee State Park. It did have a section that was open for winter camping, but the main one here at the lake does not. So we're now at the other campground at Lake Vesuvius, and as you can tell, this one's closed too, likely for the season. I'll have to look that up and see if I can tell you whether they're always closed in the winter or whether we just got lucky. So now Bill and I are trying to decide, are we going to, looks like there is a Holiday Inn marked down in Ironton, which is probably 45 minutes away from here. There's really nothing else out here. No camping, no hip camps, no hotels. We're pretty much in the middle of wilderness Ohio, to the extent that Ohio has that wilderness section. So we've got to decide, are we going to go south to a hotel? Or are we just going to go north and head home tonight? We haven't decided yet. I'm sure you're going to be the first people, well, not the first people to know, but we'll fill you in as soon as we figure it out.
So what are you doing?
I'm loosening this so that when we put the power supply and the tripod on it, it will be ready. Now I can slide that in just like that. There we go. Press the button on the bottom. And the tripod opens up.
Self-deployed like a rocket. Did you see that?
And then that lines up right with that. And then you can tighten down the screw to make sure it stays. I've got to plug this in to the power source, which goes right here. So that plugs in. Power button. I've got 4. The blue light just came on. I'm going to see if we can find somewhere. There you go. It's off. Now we need to break it down and put it away. Preferably once we get to the car.
Pinch yourself with that thing.
Yeah, you can. You have to be careful with it. And it clicks. Please don't. I know it's icy. Should lift straight off.
Through it.
I saw that. Let's not do that. It is not a frisbee. Yeah, we know. This is not exactly your normal campsite. We did enjoy having hot showers for a change, but this is what happens when you discover you're in the middle of nowhere and the only 2 campgrounds in the middle of nowhere are closed for the season. We're going to go out this morning and get back on the goat. Ironically enough, this road we're driving this morning is called Township Highway 198. This is about as far, in my mind, from a highway as you can get, but it's been a very pleasant drive through the woodlands here in southern Ohio.
Rue was not impressed. She wanted to know when we'd go hiking. Maybe today'll be that day, Rue. Maybe today. But in the meantime, we've got to put some miles of segment 3 of the Great Ohio Adventure Trail behind us.
Spotted the elusive, beautiful woman in the forest. Put some commentary in there that you'll enjoy.
When we're out driving trails, kind of winter into spring, kind of the edge of all that, and it's mucky and it's nasty and the ice, We often wear muck boots because it's just so muddy and messy, but the traction on muck boots isn't great, especially on ice, so watch the ice. But we had kind of a hiccup on my muck boots. We had another pair coming for me, but they didn't arrive in time, so we had to figure out some other way to make sure that my muck boot didn't fall apart this week. We talked about duct tape. We're not sure we have duct tape. We need to add that to our kit. We talked about using a zip tie. Figured that would come off. This little bungee has actually worked really well.
I just stopped by to see if you want a drink. The dogs don't want it.
Dogs are weird.
Wayne National Forest is not one large tract of wilderness. Instead, in Ohio, it's 3 separate units, and each unit is a patchwork of public and private land. The forests in the area today are young and grew up after mining and timbering stopped in the area in the mid-1900s. If you look carefully, you can find evidence of the immediate past. Places like ghost towns, abandoned mines, old strip mines, man-made ponds, iron furnaces, rock shelters, and even abandoned tunnels. Both ghost stories and tales of Bigfoot sightings abound in the area, so keep your eyes open. You never know what you might encounter if you take time to get off the beaten path and explore just a little. Places like the Moonville Tunnel, the ghost towns of Shawnee, Vinton Furnace, and Kings Hollow, the Lake Hope Furnace Complex, and the innocuously named CH&D Tunnel Number 2, which you can find on the map for the GOAT. The Cincinnati, Hamilton, and Dayton Railroad once caused the hills in this area to echo with the rumble of steam engines hauling goods across the state of Ohio. Today, the dark corridor remaining of this tunnel invites anyone curious and brave enough to explore it and soak in the many layers of history hidden in its stone-lined walls.
So we are now at the CH&D Number 2 Railroad Tunnel. This is just off of the GOAT. I mean, literally there's a place where you can pull off just up the road from it. In the summer, you'd have to bushwhack your way down here. At this point in time, everything's clear, so we can find our way down.
It's trippy how those stalagmites of ice are popping back up.
Yeah. There's no established path that we found for it. There may be another way in that we just haven't seen, but it's a very short walk down from the road, and this is really cool.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. I'll just tell you that right now. I really wish you wouldn't do that. End up and break the other foot.
It's weird looking down and realizing I'm floating over the rocks below me because there's a second layer of ice I'm on.
Yeah, guess what your bum's gonna do when it hits that?
Hurt?
Yeah, it won't be floating anymore neither.
No, it wouldn't be. It would be another foot or so down in the water. What do you think, Phil?
Very much worth the walk. It's not that far. Just
No.
5-10 minutes at the most?
5 minutes probably. Especially if you knew where you were going, it would take you 5 minutes to find it. So just look for the deep ravine, and when you get closer to the deep ravine, there's going to be an excavation that's really clearly man-made. Go down into that excavation. That's exactly where this tunnel is.
You're really cool.
This is the CH&D Railroad Tunnel. I'm standing inside it, which Bill has reminded me may not be a brilliant idea because, well, let me just put it this way. The tunnel is fairly deep. It is full of water, and there are several different layers of ice on it. So although I am standing, I don't know, about 8 feet into the tunnel, I don't really want to go further because that first layer of ice is too thin and I'm breaking through it. The second layer of ice underneath is down about 6 or 8 inches, so I'm standing in 6 or 8 inches of water in my muck boots. But I'm not 100% sure that it's going to hold my weight very far, or I would probably be going back there and driving Bill crazy. So today, I think I will be good. We will just admire it from right here, and maybe if we get back this way during the summer months, maybe at that point it'll be a better idea to bring some lights down and explore this tunnel. But today, we're going to admire all these really cool ice formations in this tunnel from almost right at the edge.
All right. Now turn that back on so I can tell him something. I always knew that my wife was impressive. She's practically walking on water. Look at that. Scoot your feet around a little bit. See that? Be careful.
Just showing the second layer of ice. Yes, right now you can see that there are rocks another level below me, probably another foot deeper than I am. That top layer of ice broke open, but the second layer of ice, it feels more substantial, but I think it might be misleading. So there is a much better defined trail down to that tunnel, which we knew it had to be here. It looks like maybe side-by-sides are using it. It's not real obvious from the road, so if you get to the point where it's marked on the map, there really is a trail. There really is also a side spur. I'm not even talking about a side spur. It's 50 feet off the trail where you could also park up a little bit from where this trail goes down, because there's really not much room along the road here. There's a little bit of room, but not much. But in case you're curious, yes, there is a much better defined trail down than the bushwhacking that we would have done, especially if it were in the summer.
There is an orange blaze on that tree, but it's very faded.
Okay.
Like it's been marked at one time.
I would never have noticed. I was looking for it as we drove by and completely missed this.
It's years old.
If you're not driving about half a mile an hour, you're going to drive by it just like we did, but you're likely to see where we pulled off just a little bit further up. We walked down on the other side too to see if there's any remnants of the outlet from the same tunnel. You can just barely see it right here behind me, but it looks like so much has caved in on this particular side that it's actually buried the structure and buried the stone that would have supported it. So we're not going to climb down there. We're not going to check it out. There's a lot of snow. There's a lot of ice. It's a really steep embankment to get down, but there is evidence on the other side also of the outlet from that cool tunnel. So we're going to wrap up our weekend trip right here at this tunnel and head north and head home. It's been a lot of fun. The goat is an easy drive generally, as long as there's not a lot of snow and ice on it like we found on it. There were some challenging sections, a lot of woodlands, a lot of ravines. If we didn't have the fog this morning, we would have seen a lot of great views this morning. But we are now headed north. We did finish up segments 1, 2, and about half of segment 3, so when we're coming back this way in the future, this is exactly where we'll start. What did you think, Bill?
Well, when she says as long as there's not snow on it, that was my favorite part. Watching this girl drive it. It went good. It was a challenge. It was fun. And we'll be back.
We will definitely be back. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, come join us. We have adventures every couple of weeks that we post. You never know where we're headed next. In fact, we don't know where we're headed next either, so it'll be an adventure.
Nate Sparks!
Brad, this is my 23 Gladiator Rubicon.
Having fun back here, Brad?
Oh yeah, follow you guys anywhere.
Ben, this is my first gen Toyota Sequoia.
Uh-oh, the apartment building is in trouble.
Yeah, so this is my 89 Suburban. Matt Yulberg, 2017 Toyota Tacoma TRD Sport.
Name's Dustin Quarles. I've got a 2001 Ford Excursion, a 6.8 liter V10. Dual with Nancy, 2004 Subaru Forester.
Best $500 spent ever.
My name's Jake. The 2015 Wrangler Sahara.
I'm William Peasy. It's a 2013 F-150, 3.5 EcoBoost.
I'm Layla Hemsaw. Got this 24 Bronco in July.
So I'm Sam Post. This is my new Ranger. This is my second one.
I'm Marcus. I raised that 2001 Jeep Cherokee.
Now, I don't know what to tell you other than pray, maybe, and floor it.
And until you join us again, make sure to go out and find your own adventure. Did I miss anything else?
No. Here's where I say the line, I'm filming you, filming me, filming you. Cut.